after Venezuela's highly anticipated presidential elections, entrenched incumbent Nicolás Maduro was declared the winner, while the opposition insists its candidate, Edmundo González, obtained the majority of the votes. Despite refusing to release voting tallies, the Venezuelan National Electoral Council, which is loyal to the governing party, says Maduro got 6.4 million votes and González got 5.3 million, per the Associated Press. On Friday, the opposition released more than 80% of tally sheets. Using the data released, AP analyzed the equivalent of 10.26 million votes, concluding that González received 6.8 million votes and Maduro only got 3.1 million, which would mean González beat Maduro's bid for a third six-year term by a landslide. One day after the Organization of American States failed to reach a consensus to push Venezuelan authorities to release the vote count, the U.S. Department of State issued a statement recognizing González as the winner of the presidential election, adding weight to the international pressure on Maduro. Now, a lot of Venezuelan people have gone to the streets to protest the announced results of the election, as well as the state that the country has been in for years and years and years. The economy has been in decline for a long time. It's been a single-party rule for 25 years, and with that, there's been a lot of arrests happening. It's important to note, though, that the governing party has made it so it has control of a lot of spheres, governmental spheres, including the judicial branch and the armed forces, which includes the military and, of course, the police. And so it would make sense, quote unquote, that people are being silenced for going out in the streets and protesting.
Yeah, that was the first thing I heard when I was reading all of this, because I'm not well versed on international politics and governments. I was like, are there not different checks and balance systems here? In America, I don't think that we could ever see that, because there are certain systems in place to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right. The historical context is crazy. I'm also not a geopolitical expert, but essentially what's happened, like I said, it's been 25 years of this governing party, and Nicolás Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chávez, they have both kind of made it so the governing party has very little or a very weakened checks and balances system. The Supreme Court is kind of backed by the governing party, so is the police, military, like I said. And so there is very little that can be done to kind of keep the commander-in-chief in check, so to speak.
Check him.
So yeah, it's very sad to see, and I think it's important that we talk about this and keep talking about this, because it's very clear that the Venezuelan people are tired of everything that's happening, and it's more just a matter of humanitarian, a humanitarian crisis. I think the Venezuelan exodus, the amount of people who have left Venezuela, which surpasses 7 million, I think, by a lot, is, I'm pretty sure, the largest Latin American exodus in Latin America's recent history. And that just goes to show that people are just not receiving everything that they need to have a dignified life. In addition to that, I kind of want to go back to the silencing of civilians who are going out and protesting the elections and the current governing party and Maduro as president. This has not only happened with civilians, it's also happened with potential and actual political candidates. Maria Corina Machado, who is the leader of the opposition currently, was banned by the Supreme Court earlier this year for running for president. This has happened with multiple other political candidates in the past. Hugo Chávez, Maduro's predecessor, also made that happen with other political candidates. And it's just a testament or a proof that there's a lot of silencing going on, and there is very little opportunity and space for change to happen, even when negotiations have taken place. To kind of not stretch this on a lot longer, the U.S. had negotiated with Venezuela, saying that they would ease some sanctions that were hurting their economy further. Their economy was very dependent on oil, and so some of these sanctions had to do with oil, in return for Venezuela promising to make a path to pave a way for free and fair elections, Venezuela agreed, and then the Maria Corina Machado banning her from running for president took place. And even though she is still at the forefront of the opposition, again, it's just an example, a very clear example of the lack of transparency, honesty, and fairness that is taking place in the Venezuelan government right now, and that has been taking place, unfortunately, for more than 20 years.
Whew, very well versed.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you for no. That's so good. I feel like people need to know that, and I'm actually surprised that people in America aren't talking about it more. Like, I know that sometimes people don't really care about things unless it impacts them directly. Well, things that are happening in Venezuela can and will impact the U.S. directly.
I mean,
so
yeah, and it's also just like, it kind of gives people, I know there's a lot of negative connotations tied to like Venezuelan refugees or immigrants from Venezuela, and it's just kind of like, y'all, like, do a little research as to why people are fleeing. It's not because it's not out of choice. It's like out of necessity.
So we will continue to follow this. We'll be bringing you guys updates, letting you know what's going on.